16 tornadoes confirmed on the ground in a single night across Indiana and Illinois. The entire state of Indiana averages 22 tornadoes in a full calendar year, and we just put 16 of them on the board overnight. Survey teams are still out there right now counting damage paths, and some of those paths cut through neighborhoods like a lawnmower straight through a field. On top of that, a hailstone the size of a cantaloupe hit Illinois overnight 6 inches across, and when the survey team gets eyes on it this morning, it will not just break the Illinois all-time hail record, it will bury it. The record that has stood since 2012 is about to get absolutely dusted by what fell out of the sky last night. Now, brace yourself for this one. Los Angeles is being forecast to hit near 100 degrees by the end of next week, and that is not a separate story. That is the same exact weather pattern that is about to bury the Midwest under 3 to 4 feet of snow and send wind chills to -20 in Chicago. One machine, two completely opposite outcomes happening simultaneously, and that kind of split this early in March is genuinely rare. Morning, folks. Really glad you're here, because this week the weather story reads completely differently depending on where you live. And if you are in the wrong place without the right information, the timeline for your area could catch you flat-footed. Stay with me all the way through, because that Los Angeles number I just mentioned is the tip of the iceberg before the 12-minute mark. I am going to show you exactly why a city that most people would never put in a winter storm forecast belongs dead center in this conversation. So here's the engine driving all of it. Picture a freight train rolling east and picking up cars one at a time. The first car already hit Indiana and Illinois overnight with those violent tornadoes. The second car, a fast clipper, arrives Thursday into Friday. And the third car, the one still building out over the Rockies right now, is the biggest and most dangerous of the three. And it arrives Sunday into Monday. What makes that third car so alarming is not just the snow it brings, it is the Arctic air cannon that fires right behind it. As that storm deepens over Iowa on Sunday, it pulls temperatures down by 30 to 50 degrees in under 72 hours across a region that is wearing short sleeves today. Tell you what, that is not a cold front passing through. That is the atmosphere doing a full-on seasonal takeback in the middle of March. The overnight damage reports are still rolling in. And what we are seeing this morning is not small. A violent tornado carved through Kankakee County in eastern Illinois confirmed injuries, structures destroyed, and photos that only show part of the path. Further northwest, Lake Village, Indiana took a direct hit with at least 2 fatalities confirmed, homes leveled, and over 70 high-voltage power poles knocked down in Newton County alone. 70 poles in one county tells you this storm stayed on the ground and worked a long, wide path. On top of the tornado damage, hail reports across the outbreak zone are coming in at 3 inches, 4 inches, 5 inches in diameter, and that potential 6-inch stone in Illinois is still being measured this morning. And when you map yesterday's storm reports from Lake Michigan all the way down to the Texas-Mexico border, you are looking at a severe weather corridor spanning roughly 200 miles, one of the longest outbreak footprints of this season so far. Before we go any further, real quick comment drop. If you're in Indiana or Illinois waking up to storm damage right now, drop your city and tell us what you are seeing. And for everyone else, let me know which part of this week matters most to you. Tornadoes still going today. Snow this weekend or cold blast hitting next week. One word and your state. Drop it right now. Now here's what catches most folks off guard this morning. The severe weather threat is not over, and as the storm system tilts and warps as it moves east today, it is like a top that wobbles before it falls. That wobble is when the rotation tightens and the storms actually intensify. And that is what happens this evening across the south. So the tornado threat does not fade today. It moves, and in some areas it gets worse. Today's risk zone stretches from Pennsylvania, Maryland, and New Jersey all the way back through the Tennessee Valley to East Texas, Arkansas, and Louisiana. Essentially the entire eastern half of the country below the Great Lakes is in at least a slight risk of severe weather today. And the strongest storms will park themselves in the lower Mississippi Valley this afternoon and hold there through the evening hours. The tornado risk today splits into 2 separate hotspots up north. Isolated storm cells could fire ahead of the main line across southern Ohio, northern Kentucky, and southern Indiana starting around noon, spinning up tornadoes before the main squall line even arrives down south. The storms actually get stronger as the afternoon rolls on through Tennessee, Mississippi, Louisiana, and along the Gulf Coast all the way through midnight. 2 timelines, 2 different danger windows, and both of them are real. And the wind threat today is straight up no joke. 60 to 70 mile per hour gusts are in the forecast across southern Illinois, southern Indiana, and through Ohio, with the pockets of 70 plus where the stronger cells fire down in the south. Significant severe designations mean some areas could see hurricane force straight line winds from cells that are not even producing tornadoes. Look, a 70 miles per hour straight line wind does not need a funnel to take your fence down, your car windows out, or your roof apart. Running the highest risk cities right now, Washington, D.C. at 72 degrees is under an active tornado watch this morning, not a general storm watch. Specifically, a tornado watch, meaning conditions are favorable for tornado development in the metro area this afternoon. Baltimore at 70 degrees under the same watch, and Pittsburgh at 63 degrees, already under a tornado warning as of this morning, Pittsburgh. Figuring out your shelter spot is the one thing to do before anything else today. Full stop. Through the Ohio Valley, Columbus at 57 degrees is tracking 1 inch of additional rain on ground that is already soaked. That extra inch does not soak in. It sheets off into streets and underpasses and creeks that normally handle rain just fine. If you drive through Columbus tonight and you see water across a road, do not test it because that water is moving faster than it looks. Cincinnati at 55 degrees with 60-plus mph gusts making highway driving genuinely dangerous by evening. Cleveland at 52 degrees with heavy rain and strong winds stacking up on already wet ground. Swinging south through Indiana and the Tennessee Valley, Indianapolis at 54 degrees is still cleaning up from last night's tornado warnings, and with 25 miles per hour gusts already this morning. If you're out there clearing debris today, keep one eye on the sky because another severe round is possible this afternoon. Do not get caught working outside when that second line comes through. Louisville at 61 degrees is seeing active thunderstorms right now with 0.6 inches of rain and heavy lightning, a 2-round severe day for Louisville. Nashville at 64 degrees with another storm wave tonight, and Memphis at 66 degrees. Your risk window opens this evening, so do not let a quiet morning fool you. Heading up the coast to the mid-Atlantic and northeast New York City at 63 degrees is tracking strong thunderstorms with 0.8 inches of rain, and while a tornado watch in the New York metro area sounds unusual, gusty embedded downdrafts in these cells can produce wind damage across the 5 boroughs without ever dropping a funnel. The 8 to 9 p.m. window is when those cells push through the city. Philadelphia at 70 degrees with active storm warnings. Newark and Jersey City both at 64 degrees in the same zone. Folks up and down the I-95 corridor. Tonight is a keep your alerts on night. Real quick, before we flip to the winter side of the story, if you're in Ohio, Indiana, Kentucky, or Pennsylvania and you have kids at school today, the afternoon severe window lines up almost exactly with school pickup hours. Check your district's severe weather dismissal policy right now, because sitting in a school parking lot when the sirens go off is not the time to figure out what the plan is. Now here's the wild contrast that explains exactly why today's tornado threat is as potent as it is while all of that severe weather is hammering the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic. The Southeast is sitting in record-breaking warmth. Charlotte, North Carolina at 88 degrees. Raleigh at 88, Atlanta at 86, Jacksonville at 84, Richmond at 82. Those are mid-July temperatures in the second week of March, and that 40-degree temperature gap between the warm southeast and the cold air to the northwest is not just a weather curiosity. It is the fuel tank that powers today's tornado machine. The bigger the gap, the more violent the reaction when those two air masses collide. Alongside the tornado and wind threat, the hazard getting the least attention today is flooding, and it deserves more. The wettest corridor runs east of Interstate 35, meaning East Texas into southern Arkansas. All of Louisiana and into Mississippi, Jackson, Shreveport, Monroe, Baton Rouge, and the Tyler area are all looking at 2 to 3 additional inches of rain on ground that is already saturated, and that flooding risk stretches all the way up through the eastern Ohio Valley into upstate New York, a huge swath of the country dealing with all 3 hazards at once. Houston at 75 degrees looks relatively quiet today, but the outlying communities are sitting on soaked ground from this week's earlier storms, and the rule that never changes applies right now. Turn around, don't drown, 2 feet of moving water will float your car right off that road, and I don't care how good your truck is. Y'all, no errand and no shortcut is worth finding that out firsthand. Before we move into the winter storm breakdown, here's something worth sitting with the families in Lake Village, Indiana, and Kankakee, Illinois, who woke up this morning to caved-in roofs and downed power lines, are now looking down the barrel of a week that ends with negative 20 wind chills on top of all that destruction, no roof. Broken windows in a house that is barely standing. With Arctic air arriving Monday morning, if you know someone in those communities, reach out today, not later today, and make sure they have somewhere warm to go before this weekend. A 10-second text right now could make a real difference for someone who is too overwhelmed dealing with storm damage to be thinking about what Monday's cold blast looks like. And for anyone in today's ongoing severe weather zone from Ohio to the Mid-Atlantic, same deal, know your shelter, phone volume all the way up, and do not wait for the sirens to start moving. Worth stopping here to lock in the timeline one more time because this part matters. Today's severe weather runs from late morning straight through tonight across the Ohio Valley and Mid-Atlantic, and it does not wrap up in the south until the early morning hours of Thursday. Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia tonight is not the all clear for y'all. Your threat window runs through midnight. Keep those alerts on. Quick check for my northern state folks: Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan. The Dakotas. Storm 1 arrives Thursday into Friday. Storm 2 rolls in Sunday into Monday. Which one are you more worried about, drop Storm 1 or Storm 2 in your city right now? It tells me where to go deeper in tomorrow's follow-up. So here's where the story shifts. Completely south of the Great Lakes, it is tornadoes and flooding today. But north of the Great Lakes, the flip to winter has already started. A potent clipper dives south out of Canada Thursday evening and moves through the upper Midwest on Friday morning. This is not a minor clipper. It is packing wind-driven snow, lake effect enhancement across the upper peninsula of Michigan, and serious wind gusts that make roads dangerous on their own before the bigger storm even gets here. Chicago at 43 degrees this morning is already in that rain and snow mix with 28 miles per hour winds Chicago. By Thursday evening, that mix flips to all snow, and the roads freeze overnight. Milwaukee at 36 degrees is already picking up 2 inches of snow today with 25 miles per hour winds making surfaces slick. Milwaukee. The clipper piles in on top of what is already down, and you may not get a dry window between the two storms. Detroit at 37 degrees with 1.2 inches of snow and 22 miles per hour winds. Road conditions are already deteriorating this morning, and that trend continues through the week. The clipper is also driving serious wind energy across the Rockies and Plains. High wind watches and warnings are already posted from Montana and Wyoming eastward, with mountain peak gusts that could touch 100 miles per hour. And as that system tracks out onto the plains and into the Midwest on Friday, 50 to 60 miles per hour gusts extend from Des Moines through Chicago and Cleveland, enough to flip trucks on open highway and make every overpass bridge in the region a genuine hazard. Buffalo at 39 degrees is already sitting at 1.6 inches of snow with 28 miles per hour gusts this morning. And Buffalo knows better than almost any city in America exactly what happens when a clipper tracks through the Great Lakes and fires up the lake effect machine south and east of Erie and Ontario. Rochester at 41 degrees, already mixing rain and snow with 25 miles per hour gusts, is getting a preview of Friday, and that preview is not subtle. Right on Storm 1's heels comes the heavyweight Storm 2. Building out over Idaho and Montana right now, arrives Sunday morning across the Dakotas, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, and deepens into a powerful low over Iowa by Sunday afternoon. The snowfall totals the models have been advertising for this one have held steady across multiple consecutive runs, which is the signal that tells you this is not a model outlier. This is a verified event that is happening. The combined snowfall from both storms running through next Wednesday, March 18th, stacks up like this. Michigan's Upper Peninsula is looking at 36 to 48 inches total. Northern Wisconsin and Minnesota, 18 to 30 inches in the heaviest zones. The Twin Cities Metro, 12 to 18 inches combined. And even Chicago and Milwaukee on the southern edge are tracking 6 to 10 inches before this is all done. And remember, this is two storms arriving back-to-back with barely a break between them. And let me be real specific about what 3 to 4 feet of wet March snow actually does to your property. That is snow piled up past your belt buckle if you're standing in it. It is the kind of weight that collapses the carport you built 15 years ago and always meant to reinforce. It brings mature tree limbs straight down onto power lines, and it sits on older roofs like a piano. Nobody can move if you have any structure on your property in the UP of Michigan or northern Wisconsin that you have been putting off fixing. This storm is the one that makes that decision for you, right behind all that snow. The cold air cannon fires wind chills in North Dakota and northwestern Minnesota, pressing 20 below zero by Sunday morning, March 15th. Wind chills in Chicago, Milwaukee, and the Twin Cities running 5 to 20 below zero by Monday morning, March 16th. And I want to make sure this lands right. Those are not air temperatures. That is what your skin feels the second you step outside. And at 20 below wind chill, you are talking frostbite in under 30 minutes on exposed skin. So the people saying it's just a little cold need to hear this again. What makes this cold blast different from a typical March cold snap is where it goes. It does not respect state lines and it does not stay north. This air mass crashes all the way down into Texas and along the lower Mississippi Valley to the Gulf Coast. Dallas at 73 degrees today. Austin at 77, New Orleans at 77. Circle Monday on your calendar right now, because the temperatures you are feeling this week are temporary and the flip hits faster than March usually delivers it. Minneapolis to Chicago to Indianapolis, that corridor is looking at wind chills, cold enough to trigger school delays and closures by Monday morning, even in mid-March, which is something that does not happen every year. St. Paul at 32 degrees right now. Folks in St. Paul, your window to get ready before this arrives is this week if you have outdoor animals, exposed pipes, elderly neighbors, or anyone in the household who struggles in extreme cold. Make those arrangements before Sunday, not the night before Sunday. Phone in hand right now, go to settings, find emergency alerts, flip it on, volume all the way up, not vibrate, not do not disturb. And if you use do not disturb at night, configure it to break through for emergency alerts. I know it feels like overkill until it is 2 a.m. and a tornado warning fires for your county at full volume. You wake up and move. At half volume through a pillow, you might not. And that is not a gamble worth taking. For everyone in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and the Dakotas, your prep window before Storm 1 is Thursday morning. Your window before Storm 2 is Saturday afternoon. Stock your car kit right now: a blanket, jumper cables, sand or kitty litter for traction, a bottle of water, and a phone charger. A car stuck on a rural road in a blizzard with a dead phone and no charger is not a bad afternoon. It is a life-threatening situation, and it is 100% preventable. And step 3 is for everybody currently sitting pretty in that warm sector: Charlotte at 88 degrees. Atlanta at 86, Dallas at 73. Your turn is on the way. The tornadoes and the snow are not headed directly to you this week, but that Arctic air outbreak reaches far enough south by early next week to push temperatures well below normal through the Carolinas and Georgia. Start checking the forecast for your region through the weekend so that temperature flip does not sneak up on you. All right, here it is, the city I mentioned at the top, Los Angeles, California. I know that sounds completely sideways in a video about blizzards and tornadoes, but stick with me while Minneapolis is under 3 feet of snow and Chicago is at negative 20 wind chills. Los Angeles is being forecast to push near 100 degrees by the end of next week. And the reason it belongs in this conversation is that it is not a separate story. It is the same story. The ridge of high pressure building across the desert Southwest that drives LA toward 100 degrees is the exact same atmospheric mechanism that is amplifying the Arctic air outbreak on the other side of it. The same pattern that buries the Great Lakes under snow is what produces near-record heat in Southern California. They are two sides of the same coin, and that kind of splits Chicago burying under snow while LA sweats toward 100 degrees in the same week of March. That does not happen every year. As for the rest of the western states today, Phoenix at 82 degrees sunny and well above normal. Las Vegas at 72 degrees, clear and dry. Denver at 57 degrees in a brief nice window that will not last long once the Clipper tracks east. And Salt Lake City at 59 degrees, comfortable for now. Seattle at 54 degrees with its trademark light drizzle, just Seattle being Seattle on a Thursday. Looking past next week after the cold blast peaks Monday through Wednesday, a warm-up pushes back into the plains by around March 21st, and that same ridge driving LA toward 100 degrees is what sends that warmth east. But here's the catch I'm watching closely. The pattern behind this cold outbreak tends to come back around. And right now, the signals I'm seeing point toward another cold air return toward the end of March into April. So this week may be round 1, not the last round. For the northeast of New England, the models are trying to pull some of Storm 2's precipitation into the mid-Atlantic and up through New England. But I want to be straight with you, confidence. There is genuinely low right now. D.C., Baltimore, and Philadelphia could see snow mixing in on the back end of the second system, but I would not build any weekend plans around significant I-95 corridor accumulation yet. The next 48 hours of model runs is when that question gets answered. Last comment drop before we close. If you are in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, the Dakotas, or anywhere in today's tornado zone, drop your city, state, and which part of this week's story hits closest to home tornado damage. Clipper snow, big storm snow, or cold blasts? The comments help me shape tomorrow's breakdown around the areas that need it most. Here's the one question that determines everything for the Great Lakes this weekend. Does Storm 2's track hold far enough north to keep the heaviest snow pinned on Michigan's Upper Peninsula and Minnesota? Or does it drift 100 miles south and drop the 2-foot snowfall zone down into Wisconsin, Illinois, and potentially Chicago? 100 miles of track difference, millions of people affected differently, and the model runs in the next 48 hours are what calls it. That answer is in tomorrow morning's update. Here's the honest bottom line on what is happening this week. This is not 5 separate weather stories happening at the same time. It is one atmospheric pattern doing 5 different things simultaneously, and Chicago burying under snow while Los Angeles sweats toward 100 degrees is not a coincidence. It is one machine cranking at full throttle, and right now, that machine has not been asked to slow down, and it has not volunteered to. Tomorrow morning's full update is before 7 a.m. Central Storm reports finalized from today's severe weather, Storm 2's updated track, and the first city-by-city snow total breakdown for the weekend blizzard. Stay sharp today and tonight. If you're anywhere from the Ohio Valley through the Mid-Atlantic and Deep South, look out for each other out there. And if you have not texted anyone in the Indiana or Illinois damage zone yet, do that before you close this video.